Welcome to Your Questions Answered. Today I'm answering a question I was asked on a webinar recently. Technology let me down. It's always technology's fault, isn't it? And I wasn't able to answer it at the time because I didn't see it. I'm actually quite glad I didn't, because it's quite a complicated question and I've done some research about it and I think I can give you a much fuller answer today. So I was asked, can the mayor have a charity number for their fundraising efforts? Well, the answer to that question is pretty simple. Yes, you can. If you are a registered charity, you can have a charity number. So I suppose the question is, how do you register the mayor's charity efforts as a charity? So interestingly enough, I was once told that this was completely impossible. And I've come to think that the person who told me that might have just not been interested in doing the work. Who knows? Anyway, I did a bit of research and I thought, well, actually looking at what the Charity Commission says about what you need to be to register as a charity, I don't see any reason why a mayor could not register their charity efforts as a charity in itself. And then thought, I need to check, are there any mayors in the country that have done that? So I went straight to the top and I looked at the Lord Mayor of the City of London's charity appeal, and lo and behold, it is a registered charity. So my contention is, if the Lord Mayor of London can do it, then anybody can do it. Bearing in mind he is perhaps a little better resourced than most. But I don't see any reason why you can't register as a charity as a mayor. So what do you need to do it? Well, I mean, obviously the process is a little bit more complicated than this, but in essence, you need to come up with a charitable purpose. Now, that's fairly clear. The purpose of your charity is to raise money for other charities. I would be happier if you used the word local charities in that statement, but I don't know whether you can necessarily dictate to the mayor that they must raise money for local charities. We'll see about that. So you need your charitable purpose. Once you've got that, you need a structure. Now, structures of charities range from the very simple to the very complicated. As you are not Oxfam, I would go for the very simple. The simplest form is a charitable trust, where you have trustees and a fairly simple structure. The disadvantages means that you can't own land and you can't really employ people, but you weren't going to do that anyway, so that probably doesn't matter. The disadvantage that I can really see is that there is no limit on the liabilities of the charity. So the trustees are financially liable for the debts incurred by the charity, which means if you become a trustee of the charity because you become mayor, you are in fact liable for the debts of the previous mayor. I could see people who would object to that, but leaving that aside, you can come up with a relatively simple structure of a charitable trust. You could see that that might work. Once you've done that, you need to come up with some governing documents, a kind of constitution, standing orders, those sort of thing, very similar to what you'd produce if you were starting a business. And then finally, you need to go to the Charities Commission and you need to register it, which of course sounds very easy. I'm sure there will be some sort of hitches along the way. So it is probably a fairly complex process. What do you get for all of your efforts is the question. I mean, why would you want a charity number? One, it does look good on your posters if you have a charity number, makes it look more official. Second big advantage, I think, is that you can claim gift aid on any donations that you receive. It does become quite complicated when you're raising money for 3 different charities to claim gift aid on donations that you've received. You have to be quite clever about doing that. Also, there are some other tax benefits to being a charity, which I'm not going to go into because I'm not a tax lawyer, but there's some argument that you could say it is worth your while registering. So to become a charitable trust and to register, you need a minimum of 3 trustees. You could do that with the deputy mayor, the current mayor and the outgoing mayor. You could try that. But what I would suggest is, if you want to do this, if you take this seriously, I think you need to recruit a committee of people, probably composed of past mayors, escorts, consorts, mayoresses, whatever you choose to call them, maybe even past chaplains, and bring them together and get them to commit to supporting the Mayor's charitable fundraising in the long term. Get them to agree to be trustees of the charity, and in that way create an entire infrastructure away from the Mayor and away from the council officers, so that actually the Mayor can concentrate on doing what the Mayor needs to do, the council officers can concentrate on what they need to do, and the charitable fundraising is vested in an entirely separate, legally constituted organisation. So I think that would be a great way of doing it. It would be a very positive step forward for a lot of mayoral charity fundraising efforts. So that could be something that's worth looking at. I hope that's answered your question. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer, please drop me a line on info@theciviccoach.com, find me on Twitter @theciviccoach, or fill out the little form bit up there that says your question's answered, and I will give it a shot at answering your question. So my name's Duncan Baskerville Brown. I'm the Civic Coach. Thank you very much.